All right, welcome to your reading. Thank you so much for your patience. My Star Wars shirt. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in. Let's make sure that all is hidden. And I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen. I like to share the screen so I can tap into my meditative state per se. Use my like little magical crystals. And yeah, I'll flip back and forth between showing my face and showing the chart. But let's I forgot to start the clock. 4 hours on my last one was a family reading. That was long. So anyways, and my girlfriend's gonna come back. It's kind of like some drama that happened with her night out, but doesn't involve me, so I may have to pause, but it won't matter. It won't make a difference. Like I can pause the recording. But yeah, so basically, we got Gemini rising, moon in Cancer, with sun at the 0 degree Aries point. Wow, the vernal equinox point. It's a very, very strong day to be born. A very strong energy, right? In astrology, the 0 Aries point on its own, is really a strong point in a chart. It's the first day of the zodiac. So it's like if we were born in a society that was more linked to astrology, you'd be born on on astrological New Year's Day. So very powerful energy. So yeah, overall, what does it mean to have your sun in Aries and the moon in Cancer? Well, and then the Gemini rising and Mars in Pisces. Mercury in Pisces, really close to like one of the best, one of the royal fixed stars, Fomalhaut. So that's going to be a very, very creative thing that I'll talk about. And yeah, whereas Venus is also in Aries. Okay, so backing up, sun in Aries, moon in Cancer. So that is a square aspect, right? Meaning that and a lot of times people who have that, it's not always, it's not like a science, like in that sense that like people who have, I have that a square sun and moon, and my parents are divorced. So usually what it means is that either the parents were divorced or there's just like a big divide between like the two worldviews of the parents. And what that does is that it kind of creates like not like a split personality, but it can create something where there's a feeling of of being of having like two parts of yourself that are conflicting. So the Aries part, obviously, it's that new energy, and it's very, very, how do you say, it's fiery, it's this, that, it's Aries, right? It's a very dominant, action independent oriented sign. And even at 0 degrees, it kind of indicates like new beginnings being a theme, and it has no difficult aspects, nor does the moon. So that's really, really good. So moon in Cancer, and let me just double check that because sometimes my program will lie to me. or it won't like have them orbit out in the way I like. 6. Well, besides the sun square moon, that's the big aspect, right? And even with Mercury square Pluto, Venus unaspected, Mars, pretty much no bad aspects. So you really only have, or I don't like saying bad or good, only like one difficult aspect, you could say, or two. So I really want to focus on the sun square moon, right? So the sun in Aries in 11th house, I kind of explained, I don't really like to go too far into like the sun, the sun signs. People kind of understand what they are, I hope, like what Aries is. But I want to explain to you how it conflicts with Cancer, because basically there'll be one side of you that's very emotional, right? The Cancer moon, it's indignity. So you have a really strong sun in Aries, right? Having a sun in Aries is it exalted? I should know that. But basically, it's very strong. Let me just double check that. Yeah, so it's exalted in Aries. It's in dignity in Leo, meaning like Leo and Aries are like the two, not like best sun signs, but like the signs that the sun works best in, right? Because the sun likes to shine, and Aries is fire. It allows the sun to do that. It allows the personality to have that real identity, that sense of self. Now, and then for the moon, right? The moon is in dignity in Cancer, and it's at 6 degrees, and it's inside the decan you see here of the moon. So it's a very nurturing moon sign. Moon in Cancer, it gives like a mothering instinct. Very sensitive, very linked to like basically like a moon in Cancer person is someone who's really able to express their emotions and meet their own emotional needs, and usually meet meet the emotional needs of others as well. Now, so like I always give this example, with people who like with different with Gemini moons or Aquarius moons or whatever, they're like if there's someone that has a moon in Cancer and then someone who has a moon in Gemini, let's say like the exact same thing happens to them, right? The moon in Cancer person will cry about it. They'll get it out of their system. How like how cats, I have cats around me all the time. So like cats, for example, like or animals, yeah. When something bad happens to them, they kind of just shake it out. They just like shake out that trauma or that energy out of their body. That's kind of like what moon in Cancer does with their emotions. Like they're able to really like they deal with it in that moment. They don't hold on. Like it is past, or it can be quite past oriented, but it does like it will like if the Gemini moon person might, for example, that thing happens, they might just like not even like they might just not like repress the emotion, but they might not feel it, while the moon and Cancer person will cry. But the crying is actually a good thing. It's the releasing of the energy. And in terms of like nurturing, it can make someone kind of like a homebody, right? And have like a real deep emotional need for connection with their family, creating a family of their own. And yeah, so how does that conflict with Aries? Well, Aries is so Cancer, like I said, it's very like it's very introverted sign. It's related to the home. It's very feminine, very like I said, about the emotions, about yeah, yeah, about the emotions and intuition, compassion, empathy. But then Aries is fire, right? And it's all about action. It's all about fun, and it's very extroverted. So then when we add the fact that your ascendant is in the also extremely extroverted Gemini, we have someone who, and this is actually really similar to my chart, just in way different ways. I have Leo rising, Sag moon, Pisces sun, right? So the Pisces kind of gets like pushed away easily, right? Because the fire is more of a dominant energy. So for you, and I always give the metaphor of the egg, right? Where it's like the sun or the ascendant is like the shell. It's like the outer personality. It's like what people see. While the white part of the egg is the sun. It's like your identity, the core essence of who you are, and the moon is the yolk, right? So, people when they meet you or when they're friends with you and whatnot, especially since your son's in the 11th house of friends with Venus there too, that it's very, very good energy for friends in general. So you'll most likely be quite popular, quite liked, someone that people can kind of like who definitely like is curious about life, who's action oriented, but at the same time they like it's like it's basically like when I explain like a square. One second, let me see this water really quickly. um it's like how do you feed both mouths, right? How do you feed your sun? It's like the yin yang, right? It's like the sun, the Aries side and the Cancer side. Because sometimes what happens is that people will, and I've had to do lots of like psychological work with my therapist around like for myself, and I call like the Sag Leo and the Pisces, right? And it's like I do parts work around it where it's like they have two completely different needs. So people who meet you, they'll most likely see that kind of like outgoing, Gemini rising tends to like talk a lot. Whereas your Mercury, Mercury's in Pisces and Fomalhaut, so yeah. And they're they're very flexible, they're very curious, they like to just like experience tons of different things in life, right? But then and then that complements the sun perfectly, right? And they're actually in a nice sextile with each other, sun and ascendant, if you look at it, right? It's like they're 60 degrees away or 63, whatever. It's a sextile. So those two parts of you agree really, really well. Now, what gets tricky is that the thing that people don't see unless they really, really get to know you is that really sensitive lunar Cancer side, right? Um, and it could manifest in ways where like there's one part of you that wants to like go do this and that, be around all these people, be miss social, and that's kind of how you're seen, even with the midheaven in Aquarius, which is another air sign, so it's masculine. You'll definitely be seen in that way, right? But then, like when people get to know you better, they see this real depth, right? That wasn't like so apparent right away. Like if you were like a triple Cancer, if your ascendant was Cancer, your moon was Cancer, people would see that and they would understand that better, right? So that and I know you can like dig into that in your own life, and I think you got to follow up, right? I'm pretty sure. Let me actually double check and see one other thing too. Hold on. Oh, and okay, yeah, I knew it. I knew I had to look at your email. So let me pull that up real quick. But hold on. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Okay. Yeah. Okay, career choices, those areas I would feel passionate about as much as possible. Mentors, less clashes of superior skills. Also, love life, where I could most likely meet them and who says what kind of person they may be. Okay, so one thing I want to break down is that you mentioned something about where you could most likely meet them. That's like a completely to know that I'd have to do like an astrocartography reading. That's another reading I offer. I could just like show you like a brief glimpse of it, just so you understand like what it looks like. Let me go back to sharing the screen. So like this is like your astrocartography map, right? And yeah, there's basically like lines that represent different planets, and that can give like indications about where where that might like where like those areas might be that where love is more possible, or like where you might be more likely to attract people from those places. It's so annoying that it doesn't actually show me the bottom part of the chart. Second. But for example, like yeah, you have like I can't really see it, and it's a reading I really have to like dig deeper into. But yeah, overall, like you look for like the Venus lines, like one is like very close to. Yeah, I'd have to look deeper into that, but yeah, so it's kind of like a completely different reading, but overall, with 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 the Cancer moon and Aries sun, the conflict becomes like those two parts, and I always say it's like the part the part of you that wants to just like stay in and just chill at home. And 1 second, hold on, I have to pause for a second. All right, we are back. So let's go back to share screen. So yeah, um, that conflict between water and fire. So yeah, definitely interested to see what you have to say about that in the follow-up. And yeah, overall, I mean, it's just it's difficult, but then when you have Mars also in Pisces, which trines the moon, right? It's like a trine is when it's 120 degrees. It's like a supporting aspect between Mars and the moon. That kind of brings a little bit more balance to everything, in the sense that it makes it so it's not just that the Cancer moon versus this this Aries and this Gemini. There's some Pisces there too. So I think that's like the first big point, right? Is how to feed both mouths, how to have this Aries, and like I said, it's in the 11th house, which is the arena of life that the sun is meant to manifest in, which is friends, groups of people. It's also very I want to say career oriented, but yeah, really oriented towards like your greatest goals and ambitions, right? Like the ones that take like lifetimes to kind of to manifest. So hold on 1 second. I have to look up one thing. Hold on. hold on. Hold on. Okay. So, yeah. Now, aside from that, when we look at the ruling planet Mercury, right? It's also in Pisces. So that Geminian energy, right? That energy of that the curiosity, right? That that sociability, if you want to call it that, right? That's all transferred into this very, very peaceful Mercury in Pisces, right? Which is far away from your sun, different sign. They only are a maximum of 28 degrees away from each other, right? And that's exactly how far your sun and your Mercury are. It's very interesting. So that's it could not be any further away. And a lot of times people have like their sun, Mercury in the same sign, but for you, you must have been born, let me think. Yeah, Mercury must have like just finished its retrograde. Yeah, I think Mercury must have like literally just finished its retrograde, probably like days before, and then it was just starting to go direct again. So it means that you were in the shadow period, and Mercury in Pisces, Mercury, your brain, your cognitions, how you think, how you speak, all that. It's in Pisces, and it's conjunct Saturn, so that's gonna add to it. But overall, and it's conjunct Fomalhaut, which, like I said, I pull this one thing up too. That like Fomalhaut is like it's one of the four rose stars, and it's basically like creative. It's like divine creativity, right? And what can happen is that it can make one very successful as a writer, even like a scientist. But it can really give one this ability to channel this this very divine energy into whatever, into your speech. It's very idealistic, very refined, very spiritual, right? And very, very potent and powerful. It's like the highest vibe of Pisces. So, if you're able to be someone who can, who has some type of outlet where you're able to really like write down, whether it's like poetry or, whatever it is, just, or even like in a career, because it's in the 10th house, right? You'll have this real advantage. Now, also with Mercury and Pisces, though, one thing, and this goes back to like everything I was talking about before about like the like that really social part of your chart, right? Is that Mercury and Pisces, you know, when is it aspected, it's square Pluto, yeah. So it's conjunct Saturn. Why is that not? Yeah, conjunct Saturn and square Pluto. So you have Mars conjunct Saturn too. Mars conjunct Saturn also. So what can happen is that, let's say you're around like a bunch of people, right? Let's say you have like a vast friend group. You know, Aries ruling, Mars ruling your 11th house of you know, like I said, of friends, of associations, of, you know, like big groups you're a part of. There'll be like a great drive to be to really like be to really have friends. You know, Venus is there too. So that's going to give, not luck. Luck is more Jupiter, which you have in the 6th house, which is very, very good for some other things I'll mention. It's in Scorpio too. Like Jupiter in Scorpio is like very, very good for careers like psychology. And you asked about careers. I'm gonna actually pull the email up on my phone. Hold on. There it is. Yeah, so career choices. There's possible mentors, less clashes of superiors. Interesting. So that's, so when you speak about that, okay, let me take one at a time. So with Mercury and Pisces, right? What can happen when you're in that really, really social like setting is that it can somehow make it so you almost like connect yourself with other people's thoughts, if that makes sense, right? To the extent to where, like, for example, like let's say that you go on like a trip with like your like 4 friends, or you're like a festival of some sort, or you're at a party, whatever, at a work conference. If you don't get alone time, especially as a Cancer moon, and this is the part of the chart that can be confusing, right? Is that, you know, water moons, they need to kind of have this time alone, right, to reset. I'll get into like the romantic implications of that too. But with Mercury in Pisces, yeah, it's like it can really distort. Like there can be a real distortion between how you see reality, right? Like let's say like it's like your thoughts, your cognitions, all that stuff. And it's really, really like a great channel for, you know, like, once again, for like that divine creativity. Like so definitely having like a hobby or an interest where you're able to channel this, really, like, it's very rare that someone has this, right? This energy. It's like one of the 4 little stars, like in the exact conjunction. It's like very, very, very powerful. So but yeah, there's a big need to kind of not like to kind of balance out, like, you know, like the introvert and extrovert kind of sides, right? And to have boundaries also when it comes to, because like as a Cancer moon, people who get to know you, you know, it makes one very, very empathetic, understanding, and you know, Mercury and Pisces also the same thing. So it's very important to have like boundaries when it comes to kind of being around people, and how much you're giving to individuals, right? In any capacity, any area of life, love, work, friends, all that stuff. Because the Cancer moon, you know, that's a person people come to who they trust, you know, they have the, you know, it's the mother, right? It's the nurturing energy in all walks of life. But what can happen is that people can sometimes take advantage of that. Now, with the Mercury, though, yeah, there's a big need to kind of like watch out, like, and try to like it's very, very spiritual. So it could be really, really good for even things like astrology or psychology or just anything that requires intuition, like in terms of like careers and stuff, could be, really, really good. Any kind of healing, right? But that could also be used for your own, your own personal spirituality. Just lighting some sage real quick. Now, with that said, yeah, it becomes very important for someone like you who, is an Aries Gemini rising, to be very careful around, about like what energies you surround yourself and what you surround yourself with and what energies you let in, and you're born in 94, so yeah, you're still very young. So and your Saturn return has not happened yet. That will be happening very soon. Like next year, actually, I believe, because you're born in March. Let me give you an exact date for that. Let me look that up. Okay. Ephemeris 2023. So yeah, it will move into Saturn will move into Pisces in March. And I would definitely, as an addition to the follow-up, like what most people do, and especially in your case, when you have your Saturn return, is that the kind of second reading, I would say that pretty much everyone gets after this one. Like, I mean, some people, like when they can't afford it or something, they just get the follow-up. But most people, they get the natal, and then they get what I call the current astrology report. And some astrologers know better than me, will separate what I do in one reading into like 4 different readings, right? They'll have like one reading that's a Saturn return. They'll charge you for all of them. I was just looking at this astrologer, the Peace Dealer's website, and I saw that he like had like all these in like different readings. It's like, wow, I do that all in one reading. But yeah, that one's a live reading, and I mean it's live, but like, if for example you're very like if you're quite private about spirit, about this whole spiritual side of you, like some people are, it can also be recorded, but it's way, way better as a live reading, and you already have the follow-up. So, I would highly, highly suggest adding that. But yeah, basically, where is it? The Saturn return, so it's at 6 Pisces. So yeah, next May, I'll tell you the exact date it starts. 6.6. Yeah, May 12th next year will be like like the day it starts, and it will last. Let me see for 2024. So yeah, like it, I do the current astrology reading, but when people have their Saturn return, it's like a additional reading where well, it's not an additional reading. It's like another portion that I add where it's like current astrology, which is like your Saturn, your solar return, which is like the chart of each new year. There's like a new chart pretty much based on when the sun returns its exact natal point. There's progressions. There's all this predictive astrology stuff. That kind of, it's like this reading is like the book of your life. That reading is like the current chapter, right? It's very important to know, like, you know, if you have any like big transits, or of course, like none bigger than the Saturn return. But yeah, it'll go all next year, and then for 2024, let me see. I would say it ends. Some people say it only ends when it enters the other sign, but I disagree, especially since it's only at 6 degrees. So let's see, we're going up here. So by April of 2024, it's clear. Let's see how far it retrogrades back. '14. By December, it's goes down. Yeah, so pretty much ends. Yeah, it goes all the way down to 13, which is still out of range. Yeah, so I would say your Saturn return for the most part, like basically, it's pretty much a year. I think by April of 2024, if you really want to, yeah, I play it like real safe. Like by May 2024, I mean that energy's like it's very far from your natal Saturn, and you know, pretty much like you're lucky you don't have some people that have like a longer Saturn return, because it retrogrades over the position, comes back, and then it's like, you know, it's a longer process. So yeah. Saging. But yeah, that, you know, the Saturn return is a huge time, because it's really when we become adults. You know, even for people who are very spiritually evolved and think that they, you know, it's where lots of very fated things happen. And you know, you have your Saturn in the 10th house, which is a very good place to have Saturn, but it does conjunct your Mars, and your Mercury. So I think that, like, there, you know, all this stuff I'm talking about with like the writing and the communication, which could also be related to like your Chiron, which is where, yeah, exactly what I was going to expect. Yeah, I was going to say it's either in Gemini or in Virgo, but it's actually better it's in Virgo, because Chiron and Gemini can indicate, a lot of times it's like with Alzheimer's later in life. So it's good to have that in Virgo instead. So yeah, I mean, it'll be a real like this next coming year, you know, it'll be a real time of a real you know, it's Saturn returns are always tricky, because you can never really, I mean, with the Saturn return chart, I can like kind of have ideas of the energy and what the themes will be, you know, along with all the other current astrology stuff. But you know, what I can say is the fact, so you know, I was telling you with your Mercury how there's definitely like a need for like seclusion, and you know, when you're around lots of people, to spend time alone, and to allow yourself to kind of see, okay, what's my thought and what's that person's thought. Now, when Mercury is conjunct Saturn, though, until that Saturn return comes, which is coming, right, it can sort of push away. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. No, don't. Um, so yeah, it can definitely like make it difficult. When you have Saturn conjunct Mercury, it can definitely make it difficult to find your voice. So I imagine one of the themes of the Saturn return will be around finding your voice, finding that kind of like ability to speak your truth, which in Pisces, Pisces Mercury is a very spiritual one. And maybe that's been held back, stuff to say, Also, you have Mercury square Pluto. I'll talk about that in a second, because I want to talk more about like how your Mars in Pisces, which is Mars is your action, right? And you're in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. So I think that what can happen is that there can be some frustration. There can be some frustration because Mars likes to be in signs like Aries, right? It likes to be in Aries, Scorpio, Leo, Sag, like signs like that, like fire signs. And then Scorpio also has its former dignity, but it's now Pluto in modern astrology. But basically, when you have it in Pisces, though, it can create lots of like issues around like feeling like you can like be assertive, right? Like self-assertion can be difficult, and kind of just the whole idea of finding your own power. Finding the power in your voice, but also finding the power in your actions. So I think that this time will be one where you're really able to kind of find, like, I think it will be very, very linked to like a spiritual purpose in your life, right? And anything that you held back from that spiritual side of you, I think, is meant to really, really come out. And like with that moon square sun, perhaps like, there you had very like, maybe you had like different attitudes around like lots of things than your family, your dad or your father and your mom. So it could also be like a very empowering time, which isn't always easy, about just like, this is me, this is how I am, this is like what I like. Like, for example, let's say you're like really into astrology. Like, I also teach astrology, by the way, if you're ever interested. I do one-on-one classes. And interestingly, a lot of my students come from places like Hong Kong's and like Singapore and like places you wouldn't expect. The Middle East, I get a lot of people from the Middle East. It's always interesting to me, who want to just learn about astrology and learn like, how can I like use this, for myself in my own life, but also just in general. And what I'll say is that I'm not saying astrology is the thing for you. I don't know that. I need to see more, but there's definitely something, related to high spirituality that is, related to your calling in some way. Also, humanitarianism, like your midheaven is in Aquarius, your sun's in the 11th house of Aquarius. So, there could definitely be something there, right? There can be definitely something there around really wanting a profession or a dharma. Like, I don't like to really think of the 10th house and midheaven as like career. I like to think of it more of like dharma, which, Buddhism is like what you're really here to do on like a big picture, like on a, like big picture level, And yeah, I think you did ask about career. I think, there can definitely be some linkages to spirituality, or not spirituality, to humanitarianism, and yeah, some type of career where you're really doing something that you feel is like benefiting the collective, right? And that can take so many different forms. So many different forms. Now, I want to like say things as they come up and then kind of like wrap back around to what I was saying before. But you mentioned like conflicts with superior, and I just have to say that you have this kind of dual energy, right? So the sixth house, this is the house that rules I guess like how you're of service. So if you're like a worker, right? If you have like a job, for example, you have Jupiter there. And also it's like your health and your daily routine. So if you have like having Jupiter there, you know, when you're headed in that right direction, you'll have like this like almost guardian angel. Like it's very, very good for health. And your North Node's also there, which is very, very important, which is like one of the most important, like me as a karmic astrologer. I usually talk about earlier in the reading, but I'm kind of saving it. But yeah, and Pluto, you have Pluto and North Node together, which is like a double like whammy of like, you know, there's like probably the two most important parts of the chart I look at as it relates to like life purpose, and they're right next to each other in Scorpio. So, and you'll see how this all connects. It's gonna be, you'll be like, damn, it's like a fucking perfect puzzle. But okay, so yeah, like with the clashes with bosses, having Pluto in the sixth can create that exact thing. There can definitely be power struggles, you know, with bosses, and let's see. Oh, hold up, this isn't making sense. One second, let me make sense of this. Oh, I see. Okay, so it's a square between Pluto and Mercury, but they're in both in water signs. But still, it's still a square. So Mercury square Pluto. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw that in there just as a little like, you know, kind of response to something that you specifically asked about. But getting back to what I was saying before, right? I don't want to go too far ahead. I just wanted to like point that out while I saw it. That yeah, Pluto there can create power struggles in the area of employment. And also Pluto in sixth house can also create health issues if you're overworking yourself. And it really makes it important to have that kind of link between you know, spirit, like body, and not body, like yeah, like between like what you're doing, right? Like if you're overworking yourself in something that's not like feeding your soul, like health issues can come up. But beyond that, okay, I was speaking about the Chiron, right? And how it connects to the Mercury. Is that, you know, when you have Mercury and Pisces conjunct Saturn, you might you know you sometimes there can be like a feeling of like your voice being held back, and you know with Mars there too. I said like feeling like there's a part of you that wants to be assertive, but then there's a part of you that doesn't want to like really rock the ship, right? That it's like that Cancer moon also supports that, right? It doesn't really want to like you know, doesn't want to be controversial, doesn't want to like be like that, you know, like do things that upset people. And people with Mars and Pisces sometimes like they really need like a spiritual channel, right? They really need a spiritual channel. You'll see how this all connects beautifully to your North Node, and kind of like the life purpose, life mission, all that stuff. But yeah, so having Saturn conjunct those two, and then having Chiron, which is your wound, your pain, in you know, in the fourth house in Virgo, it could really mean that there's pain around you expressing your true voice. And sometimes people, Mercury and Pisces, like they're way more artistic minded. They think more abstractly, and their thought process, their way of communicating, learning, and taking information can be a bit more broad. Now you do have Saturn there, which can definitely help that, because Saturn is very organized, it's very structured. So, but still, and I think that will become a superpower as you move into your Saturn return. But until then, it can definitely, especially with Chiron down there can be some like pain, some wounds that may have come up when you were, I guess you could say, when you were younger, like in your like kind of like with your family growing up and whatnot. And it could have made you feel like you weren't intelligent, or like your way of thinking was wrong, and it can kind of like make you overly perfectionist in a sense. And there's a real need to like to trust, to really dial in like a spiritual routine, right? A routine, like not just spiritual, like physical and spiritual, like a routine, like to have like a routine that helps you, that benefits your everyday life on the physical level, spiritual level, emotional level. So that could be like journaling, all those Cancer moon emotions, and being very, very honest. A creative outlet could be like poetry, or also journaling. And like I always say this with people who have Pisces planets, is that filming yourself, right? Like even if you're not like gonna show anyone ever, like doing like a daily, I'm just gonna call you W vlog. I'm not gonna say your name. That can, and just filming yourself, that can actually like, because Neptune like I said, it rules cameras and mirrors, so it can actually like have like a healing effect. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now with Saturn and Mars and Mercury, I think that those energies will really be released after the Saturn return, but they might face some scrutiny during them. But having Saturn in 10th house, that's where it wants to be. So that actually gives you like really, really good staying power in your chosen career once you choose the right career. And with the midheaven in Aquarius, right, and the 10th house ruled by Pisces, it's very, very spiritual, very, very humanitarian. I think there's probably this deep desire to do something that is helping. Now, yeah. So I also want to tell you this, because it's true that a lot of the most successful people have Saturn Mars aspects, right? Like you do right here with the Saturn Mars conjunct. Because what happens is that the first 30 years they almost feel like they're being like pulled back. Like they take one step forward and there's like two steps back. And it's like something they feel like, what the fuck is the universe doing to me? Like I take one step forward and like these restrictions just keep coming up. So it's what happens is that the person tends to like gain all of this like real deep determination, right? And this ability to overcome so much and to just keep going and keep going no matter how hard it gets. But then the Saturn return ends, and all of that really difficult energy kind of just goes away, and you're left with that like hard work and determination. So yeah. Yeah, Chiron. So yeah, really like a big quest for you is really learning to kind of like analyze like your I guess upbringing, you could say, or like just like your origins, your family, your childhood, all that, and see in what areas, were problematic, what areas were really, really pushing you back. So Now, I'm trying to think of where I want to go to next. Now, also, Mercury is opposite Chiron. So that's a direct link, and Chiron is opposite Mars. So, that speaks to there being like a direct link between this pain around like self-expression. Like I said, it could be linked to like perfectionism in some way, like feeling like you had to like to get the love that you so as a Cancer moon, there's so like a Cancer moon child needs so much love and affection, so they don't get it. And then they're also like they might like try to go overboard in terms of like trying to make the parents proud by like accomplishments, right? And I'm not an expert on Asian countries and their cultures, but I know that in certain Asian cultures, there's a big time. I think Japan in particular. You're from Hong Kong, but there's a big push towards like from the like traditionally from the parents to wanting the kids to like really achieve, right? And there can be like I've heard from several clients like a lot of pressure in that sense. So and the achieve can be in a way that's like quite quite strict, quite kind of set. I need to drink a bunch of water when I do readings. I learned that recently. It's like makes my throat chakra more powerful. um so yeah, finding your voice, that authentic voice, extremely important. Now besides that, there's a lot more. So to really unleash these to make these Pisces planets a superpower, I think is really linked to that creative outlet. I mean, that's kind of how I see it. Now, I see really, really like psychic intuitive powers in your chart. I mean, you have Uranus and Neptune in the eighth. I mean, that is like, having Uranus in the eighth can give you like, if you're like someone who meditates, like you're someone who can like receive downloads, like where you just have these things that pop in your head and you're like, where did that come from? Um, and yeah, it can be very, very good for everything esoteric. And then with Neptune there, that's, along with the 12th, exactly where you want Neptune, right? Neptune can really be difficult in like most houses, but in the eighth house, Neptune is like that high ideal, like it's linked to your Mercury, right? Because Neptune rules Pisces. Um, it can make you like really, really connected to kind of other people's minds, I guess you could say, like to like the not really the collective unconscious, but it can just give you like tons of insights into um like what's really beneath the surface for individuals. You can and like but for you, I think it's really about learning to trust that intuition that you have, right? Especially as a Cancer moon, water moon, you'll have like an innate intuitive ability to feel, when someone's in distress or in pain, or to kind of like be able to look at someone and see their intentions, see the kind of quality of person they are. It's a gift. Um, Now that can also really, be channeled into, helping careers. I think stop. My cat's trying to steal something. So okay, yeah, the other part was more about love. So and we'll talk about love in a sec. But yeah, definitely, yeah, definitely a split here in this chart. So should I move to love or let me think? Oh, yeah, Mercury square Pluto also. Um, that can have a really like that can be a very difficult one. Because it can make the mind it can like Pluto is a darkness, right? So it can kind of make the mind have like dark thoughts. It can give a very obsessive mind, very profound, like very deep. Um, and a lot of times it's like your thinking and view of the world can be like really influenced by like some like very intense situations, like maybe like a crisis in the family. Um, but also it can give someone very strong opinions that can be subject to criticism and lots of like very intense and mentally challenging interactions with other people. And some people with this can be very defensive, um and they'll naturally the whole point of it is to like integrate it, which is like about like there can be like a need to like kind of control people like when it comes to like thought and stuff like that. It gives lots of street smarts too, right? um it can make one like really like able to like research different topics very deeply. But it can also make someone kind of like dictatorial. um but the whole goal is to like evolve it into a more diplomatic style. um because yeah, um like and not like associate yourself so strongly with your ideas and your opinions and like defending them at any length. That's like what a lot of people have this like tend to do. So yeah, like the more diplomatic style kind of like is very good. But have like of course having the Mercury in Pisces and the Saturn on it will also help kind of kind of restrict that a little bit. um but I'm sure it comes out in certain ways. And also like your ideas and opinions and way of talking, all that will go through like major transformations. But yeah, it can also have like a very like kind of intense. Let's see what it says. Yeah, it says make one cruel in their speech, suffer from obsessive thoughts, find it difficult to think positively and calmly, focused on your own thoughts and opinions, and may not listen to others. Yeah, that can also be another part of it too. So yeah, integrated, it can just make one like a really like deep researcher, like someone who just probes into like who's very not into like the whole small talk thing, which is like so against your Gemini rising. And so with career, anything where deep research is needed, you have this real ability when you're passionate and when you have like a more spiritual connection to a subject to really dive deep into it. Um, so yeah, love. Venus and Aries, even females with Venus and Aries can be like the ones that are the chasers sometimes, but they really value, you know, they'll be very attracted to like people who are, kind of go-getters, Aries, who reflect that kind of like very masculine, not necessarily domineering, but like pioneering is a better word. Essence. And you know, having it there, and then you know, we're Series and Taurus. So you know, that's kind of just like what you might be attracted to, but then there's also the you know, the Mars in Pisces and all that. So you know, and then the Moon in Cancer. So I think like the whole love aspect, right? And then Juno is also in Scorpio. Like I haven't even gotten into that part yet. Um, Definitely someone that gives you space to really like deepen your spirituality. Like you can't be with someone who is going to hold that back. I'm not saying they have to be like the most spiritual person ever, but your life purpose is really centered around going through this what I call death rebirth transformation. Like having North Node in Scorpio is very, very karmic, and having Pluto conjunct it makes that even, you know, that speaks about having like past life traumas. And you know, South Node in Taurus can make it very difficult for one to accept change, right? They might be like having a past life tendency of being too maybe materialistic, but not necessarily materialistic, just like not having taken the risks that they needed to really take, you know, and kind of staying like preferring to stay like in their kind of imaginary world and close to home and all that, as opposed to like really taking all these skills that they developed and putting them into real, you know, real life practice, which I think your life is very based on a big mission. And you know, with the 0 Aries degrees, it's like really meant to be like a pioneer in something very new, and I imagine something, you know, probably humanitarian in some kind of way. Now, um, you know, so the Moon in Cancer person in love, they will need someone who gives them that closeness, that emotional closeness. Like when I talk about that, I mean like, you know, no holding back, like, you know, like physical and emotional closeness, right? Because you have Ceres in Taurus, so that's kind of, if we actually click on it, it gives us a little definition, right? It's like kind of like a second moon, but not as strong. It's like, you know, you feel cared for when your loved ones give you a sense of stability and security. You like to be touched and stroked and nurtured in practical ways. You also like to show others you care through practical means. And in the 12th house, you nurture yourself and others when you feel you're giving to the universe, right? Like spirituality, you may suffer loss or ill health. Your spiritual lesson is to help others who are suffering. Um, I don't worry too much about the part about health. But yeah, so like yeah, the Cancer moon also, and it's in the second house, so it's like that, you know, is making it very important to have like a strong sense of self. Like there's a real emotional need to, like, for security, like I just said, right? There's a real emotional need for security. So, you know, you'll definitely um want someone who can provide emotional, even financial security. Just where you feel like like you feel very at home within that person, with that person, like that person feels like home almost, if that makes sense. And you know, then being able to have someone who, isn't boring, right? You don't want that. Not boring, but who can go to those deep places when you need to go to those deep places. It's very important. And in your chart, let's see, we have fire, we have air, we have water, we have no earth, do we? No earth. Nope. So when you lock earth like I do in a chart, it makes this area even more important, right? This sixth house, which has so much, which is like about routine and balance. Very, very important for you to, have a routine that's really, really helping you in your day to day. And I already mentioned this, right? So this is like the same thing coming up like, multiple times. But like because it's in Scorpio, it's like a routine that like really helps out your spirituality, right? It really kind of pushes that forward more, I guess you could say. And let's see. So Venus is an aspect, so that's very important. And basically, people who have an aspect of Venus, meaning that there's no, planetary aspects that are like, it has like no checks or balances. Basically, an aspect of Venus people, they tend to put too much into love. Like it's like it becomes like an obsession, or it can, where they can sometimes feel like it's like, how are you? You ask them how they're doing, and like their answer will be based on, maybe not their answer, but like they'll judge their lives based on how good their relationships are doing, right? So there can be definitely like codependency stuff there. So yeah, it's really important to find that self-love and that self-value, right? To value your own like power, in the sense like personal power, to value that Aries part of you, right? That need for action, that need for kind of authentic movement throughout life, through the ability to just like have an idea and just be like, okay, I'm doing this, and then just doing it. So that's very important. Then but yeah, like that's something I've seen a lot with an aspect of Venus people, is that they just care, like they really, really can be like very obsessive about relationships. And also when it comes to like spending, you have to watch out. um Now this isn't like a deep karmic thing. It's just like, Venus and Aries people, they can be spendthrifts. They can be a little bit impulsive with money they spend. So an aspect that will make that even more. So yeah, it's just very important to kind of like budget. That's another thing with Earth, is like, budget, and make sure that all areas of your life, like there's like it doesn't have to be like, this perfect wake up at this time, like when I say routine, I mean something that um supports your growth, supports a lot of these things, right? A lot of these areas of life, supports you in your highest potential. And having Jupiter there will actually give you like a lot of luck in finding that. like once, like I said, like once you go that direction, lots of karmic luck that follows you, and it's very good for health, as I said. Juno. Okay, so now I want to really get into like the sixth house and the Scorpio stuff. So, okay, so you have all these Pisces planets, right? So you're very empathetic. You know, you're Cancer moon. So obviously I told you, like, lacking Earth, you need to like do things like go hiking, meditating, you know, just different things that really like on a daily basis make you better. And I gave you those like 4 different categories. You can even think of probably other categories. But I think a big part of your life is being of service, because sixth house Pluto is, you know, and I'm going back to love stuff. Don't worry, I'm connecting dots. It's very linked around, you know, how can like go. It's like leaving the me and going to the we. And a big part of your life is like, you know, like I said, South Node opposite Pluto, there could have been some past life trauma that you're trying to get past. So I think that like diving, like when you ask about career, I would say like some things like, you know, like psychology would be amazing, because like, or something like that helps you healing, some kind of healing profession that helps you like while like heal yourself, while you're also helping healing other people. I actually have something very similar in my chart, so I can speak from experience. I have the node square Pluto, and I have a book called Pisces Live 9 Lives. If you're ever interested, it's on Amazon, every international Amazon. And I speak about how I never really had, you know, this trauma, like trauma that would show how messed up I used to be, or that would like kind of like it didn't add up, right? So you might have something like that too. So I don't know if past life regressions are something in Hong Kong, but you know, that could be something. I have a really good psychic too, who lives in LA, who I've met in person. I don't trust psychics usually, but she is one of 2 psychics I know. One's my really good friend. And I consider her a friend as well, but I refer her to some people to her when I feel like, you know, they have something like this in their chart. And you can ask her all kinds of questions. Like, you can literally just, all you have to do is tell her your name. You ask, you know, about your parents. You ask about random people that you know. You can learn past life information. You can literally ask her like, what is holding me back? Like, what is this, like, this past life trauma? Because it's showing up. But here's where I'm getting to the big point. This right here is showing that a big part of your purpose in this life is to dive deep, Scorpio, right? On a day, so have your life structured, your daily life structured in a way to where you're able to like go through that death rebirth transformation, and basically just like allow parts of yourself that are no longer needed to kind of die. It's like the snake shedding the skin. And it's a very big karmic impetus, because it's like, you know, as a South Node in Taurus, as I said before, like South Node's kind of like your default node, right? It's like a lot of people today in today's world are living in their South Node, right? They've been there, done that. What feels comfortable. So it's in Taurus, you know, ruled by Venus. It's very easy to just stick with what you know, stick with what's comfortable, stick with who's comfortable. But you have to ask yourself, like, is that actually leading to me growing? And you'll know by your intuition. And this is what I'm really trying to get at, is that like the more you're able to tap into that intuition and to trust that you know that your intuition is correct, and to strengthen it. It's like a muscle. The more you meditate, the more kind of spiritual stuff that you learn about, and the more you allow yourself to enter that realm, this realm that I'm kind of that you're entering, that you're in right now as you listen to me, the more you'll grow. Now, North Node's in Scorpio, and they give little mini definitions here. I don't really like these definitions, but like what it says, it's a quest to incorporate change in your life, right? So it's like South Node in Taurus is very like it's anti-change, and that's why you're an Aries in this life, because Aries is all about just going and just doing, you know. Your tendency in past lives is to want peace and quiet at all costs. You need to avoid weakening your spiritual strength by resisting change. Your challenge is to remain open to new possibilities. You may find that your life is transformed at some stage, stripping away the old to make way for the new. And then success says, it's a quest to learn responsibility. You need to let go of the desire to escape, like I said before, into the fantasy world and develop a productive new life, which was exactly what I was saying, right? So like the productivity, this is where it can get confusing, is that in today's world, like as humans, you know, in this this current time, we link productivity with like, you know, how many hours I worked, how much money I made. So it's shifting your focus. And, you know, if you're interested in learning astrology, which, you know, we'll pull up the asteroids, like I would highly suggest, you know, and I do astrological counseling too, which is like, it takes everything in this chart, like deeper, it's like I have 2 masters in psychology. I have one in transpersonal psychology at Europa University in Colorado, and another one in cognitive psychology here in Cluj, Napoca, Romania. And basically, yeah, like that's something I offer. I don't talk about it a lot. I don't really advertise it, but like I say it intuitively when I think someone might benefit from it. So yeah, I mean, basically, like you're really trying to figure out a lifestyle for yourself where you can like shed that skin and move into that new, that like really evolving, like really like it's about like taking risks that might feel uncomfortable. And it all starts with the day to day, right? It all starts with the day to day. Let me switch back the camera on my face for a little bit. So and then, you know, having Jupiter in the 6th house, like, you know, it is 12 degrees to the north node, but still it just makes it so, like, you know, like I said, like routine, health, work, those are very significant in your life, but you want to like incorporate your personal beliefs into your daily work, right? So you want like your work to be very linked to like your beliefs and all that stuff. And in Scorpio, it makes someone like it's like a very like amazing like aspect, like being like a spiritual teacher or someone like who because they've been able to dive so deep, and you're still so young, so like maybe this stuff is to come, right? And you asked about career, right? So like through that dive into the self, you know, into the deep unconscious of the self, which you have so many like supporting parts of your chart that can help, that can make that more simple than usual. Because yeah, you said areas I would feel passionate about slash possible mentors slash classes of superior. Yeah, the possible mentors part, that's interesting. Maybe me. I don't know. It depends what you're looking for, right? I can definitely help coach you if that's something you need in finding that exact and you'll know more when you talk to me live, right? But like, you know, and really figuring that out, because there's so much that I can say in this reading that, you know, I could do like a 10-hour reading, honestly. Like it goes that deep, astrology. because yeah, your moon is so nicely aspected that like yeah, even your sun with a trine to Pluto, it's like, when you do put your mind to something, like you're able to just like go towards, but your heart has to be connected to it. But yeah, anyways, with Jupiter there in Scorpio, just yeah, a really, really, really spiritual placement. Makes one have like this intense search for truth. Um, like and it just like makes it so the occult, the esoteric, kind of the more hidden realms in life. It's my crystal I got that I'm kind of using for rings. I just saged it, but yeah, I'm not like a huge crystal guy. I mean, I love them, but I don't have like that many. I just got this one like randomly as I was walking on the street. Um, yeah, like I don't know if you see my posts, but like had like one of those like most psychic or like most intuitive placements. I had Jupiter and Scorpio as one of them. And I also had Neptune in the eighth or 12th house is one of them. I also had like water moons is one of them. It's three already, right? I had Mercury and Pisces, right? Because like I said, the Mercury and Pisces can be very broad minded, and it could be so good at the abstract and the spiritual and like understanding like things that people just don't get, and you naturally just get these things. Like what I'm talking about now, metaphors, like, but like then when it comes to like the basics, like the stuff that other people like consider easy, then it becomes more difficult because like everything is give and take in this universe, right? But then you have that nice supporting Saturn energy there, which can be good because it can actually like add organization to a mind that might be like otherwise like really scattered. But they can also like take away some of those gifts a little bit. So when it integrates, it's going to give you this mind that at the same time can be very, very spiritual, expansive, spiritually expansive, empathetic, psychic, like literally like intuitive slash psychic, um, but also organized and able to like structure any kind of work in that realm. Now, I want to say like this isn't just like limited to like psychology and these kinds of fields. I see this, and like when people come to me, like it's not like it's not like just some random thing, like if I saw business, I mean, like yeah, as an Aries, like like I think that a lot of your life purpose is going to be is definitely like linked to groups and to organizations or whatever you want to call it, like it's meant to be worked with people. But yeah, um done in something that's deep, and yeah, Scorpio likes to go beneath the surface, so something that really like gets your imagination going and is beneath the surface. Writing, like I said, could be very powerful. Anything humanitarian. um so yeah, and then also like having like so yeah, like a lot of like the life purpose is like getting past a lot of these past life traumas, right? And it's like, how do you do that? Well, you do that by taking spiritual risks and diving deeper in to Scorpio. So learning about Scorpio, that sign, and I have an article. I wish you could search on my Instagram. That'd be the best feature if they introduced that. If you could like literally like name posts and like and like if someone could just go on my profile and just search like high, low, medium manifestation of Scorpio or something, whatever, something like that, and they would just like find the article. That'd be awesome. One quick second. I want to see if I can. I don't think. I don't think I reposted it. Did I? Hold on. Okay. Good. 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 Okay. So yeah, you can be someone who heals people through their emotions, who helps people, find their own authentic voice, like even like coaching, um, can be very good for you. But you really want your career, you know, to be deep, to be linked to your own spiritual journey, and to also like help the world, you know. And tools you can use is you want to be able to use your like working like in a really high corporate job. I think would be very difficult for you, because I think that it just wouldn't be using, not that you couldn't do it, I just don't think it would be using like your greatest talents. But like working like in an organization, you like that, where you're able to, that's a little bit like different than the norm, um where you're really like able to express your true being through that could be really, really good. Because you really want to be like very ingenious in your chosen profession, very original, right? And a lot of people with Aquarius midheavens, they have like unconventional career paths, where they make a contribution to humanity. And they can also be someone who like changes careers. Maybe they start off, maybe like you're approaching a Saturn return, you're like kind of realizing like, I feel like there's something deeper. Maybe you've like been working like in a career path that you went to school for that was just like not really in line with you. Because remember, like, all right, say this, like in ancient times, this the age that you're entering now, that was when you were considered an adult, right? Not this is like not written in history, right? um this is like Atlantis, Lemuria, these ancient civilizations that, not going to get into that, but they definitely existed, and there's actual scientific proof that they existed, but they try to hide it. But yeah, there's like, if you actually like look into it, you'll see all these structures underwater, entire cities underwater, like they exist. I'm not gonna get into that right now though. I feel like you know that. I feel like, like, so yeah, just learning to trust that intuition, learning to trust that gut is so huge. Okay, so I think I covered so much. Um, but yeah, just the fact that Pluto and North Node are in the same house with Jupiter, like, I really feel like when you are going to be very, very supported when you take that, when you move away from ego and move to soul in terms of your dharma and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. You're going to be very, very supported, and it's going to be very good for your physical, mental, emotional, every kind of health. Now back to love a little bit. Juno's in Scorpio. That's kind of like our ideal mate at 0 degrees. Sixth house. So it kind of goes with what I was saying. Sixth house is Virgo. So someone who's like a rock, right? Like that stable person that you can always lean on, right? Who like understands you at such a deep level, but then who also also someone who is, like I said, who's able to kind of like hold your hand when you need it to be held, um, and who's not going to mock or like push you away from this spiritual evolution that I just see being so massive for you. And yeah, like your descendant in Sag, like you'll really like to be, also you could be attracted to foreign men. Like it's interesting you said that in an email, because Sagittarius is like rules like either like foreign or someone who just like can really introduce you to new philosophies and new ways of thinking about life. So that's interesting. And then you have Eris conjunct Venus. So you could be quite explosive in your relationships. There can be like blow ups potentially, but like because the Mars is in Pisces, they might just like take a long time to kind of get to that point. And then like that, yeah, there can be lots of like really like inner restriction and frustration. Like you want to just like let things out, but they just won't come out. But that's going to change. And I think also with your Saturn 10th house, Saturn return, you know, it's like really about like, yeah, finding in Pisces, like it's like, you know, it's a very heavy karma Saturn Pisces. It's like, you know, you're like every time you move away from like that spiritual life, you're going to be pulled back, right? You're going to be pulled back by Saturn and Pisces. And you know, having Pallas there, Pallas is kind of like the third eye. In Pisces, that's just like is like a very psychic meditative mind, right? Where you can really merge your mind with the universe, which is like very like Mercury and Pisces. And yeah, like healing the world through your words. So like very, very good for artistic expression. And yeah, like a career that uses your unique creative talents is something I'm getting at. So I hope I'm kind of like answering all the questions that you had. I know I am. But let's see here. And Vesta, the last of the four main asteroids. You know, 11th house in Aries. So it's like, you know, it makes one very dedicated to group processes, to like the higher ideals. A need for one to define their personal beliefs and visions when they have this. But yeah, it's like all about like commitment to like your role within the collective, you know. And having Vesta and Aries, right? It's just makes one very self-reliant, very self-motivated in their own work. And yeah, like lots of commitment to your ideas. It makes someone who likes to work by themselves, probably. And, you know, I think midheaven Aquarius would also support like something where you have like autonomy, where you're not being told what to do and all that. And yeah, like really like a commitment to independence and to the ability to achieve personal success. So yeah. Then Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith is like kind of like the darker side of your personality, right? It's like what comes out you when you're at your lowest. So it's in 11th in Aries. So you know you might have like issues with friends, even though like there's such good energy in that group, in that area of life, in the 11th house. Like you may feel that your friends don't live up to your expectations and you can't count on them at times. Like maybe you give more than like you feel like you're giving more than they're giving. Like you really like to be part of like-minded groups, but like feeling like rejected at times. So it's all about like finding like, you know, the correct groups that really like are like soul fam kind of energy. And yeah, it kind of goes back to like that whole like if there's any like sign of disagreement with your ideas, like kind of like really there's a need to like hear people out and whatnot, you know. And yeah, because like any sign of disagreement in views like can be met with like, you know, that Mercury square Pluto energy. But yes, it's all about like being cool with like everyone you know, people having their different times when they get to find their own truth. And then in Aries, so that can make Black Moon in Aries, it can make someone not aware of like the impact they have on other people. Like at its lowest, it can be like kind of bully energy. as an Aries sun already. And you may it can make someone who like overly asserts themselves when they're at their lowest, and just pushes too far and pushes boundaries too far. And yeah, just asserts himself too much. And there can be some passive aggression when it comes to getting your own way, some stubbornness. And yeah, it's ruled by Mars. Yeah, so that passive aggressiveness can come up. And yeah, it goes back to just personal power and just realizing that the power comes from within, and there's no need to control others and all that. Okay, let's pop open asteroids, see if I see anything here. I already saw one. Not alcohol, by the way. It is kombucha. So how close are these two? Very close. Let me see if I find anything else. Yeah, so it says the poet or the liar. Master writers. Yeah. Okay, let's see what else if I see anything close. So Fama conjunct Jupiter, that could speak to when you're going in that path, potential fame. In whatever niche you choose, if you do go down that scorpionic route. I don't say that very often, by the way. I'm like someone who's like, you're gonna be famous, you're gonna be famous. Cupid, okay. Ooh, what's this one? So the moon, nothing really there. Ascendant, nothing really there. And what about the midheaven? I already looked at that. Sun, it's on the 0 Aries point. What's this one? So Circa is conjunct Venus. So that's all about magic. Interesting. So it's how we use magic, herbs, alchemy. So paganism. So to have that on your like on your it just you have so much of this spiritual witch energy. It's very interesting. And it's interesting because I think you're the first person I ever got from Hong Kong. What I found interesting is that when I have people who are my first person from a certain country that I usually don't associate with astrology, or maybe I have had one or two other people from Hong Kong, but it's been a while. I've only been doing this is year 5, so 4.5 years, professionally. I find that like they always have these charts that are so like there's just so much like magic potential. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't see any other picks anywhere important. Or it's like really close because all these numbers are so. If you saw what I was seeing on my screen, you'd be like, okay, I get it. There's like all these asteroids like scrunched super hard together. I'll show you just so you see. Oh wow, 1 hour 44. Jesus. Yeah, so I'm looking at. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you so much. So let me know about the follow up and hopefully the current what I like I said, like I suggest, and I'll give you a big discount on this too, is instead of just doing the follow up, which is we're gonna do regardless, doing the follow up, but adding and like I'll like exit a whole day out of my schedule just for this. The current astrology and Saturn return, which is one reading. It's just like the Saturn return is just like an extra part to it. And if you feel like you need my support in any way, I'm a very empathetic person. Like I just understand people innately. Like I don't judge at all. Like I've had clients who have never wanted to show their face. Like I've like dealt with like royalty. Somehow like it just comes to me. Um, like yeah. So people who like literally like weren't able to really even fully reveal their identity that I've like taught. I'm just very just like, okay, cool. You so yeah, like I teach astrology, I do astrological counseling, but more importantly, I mean, well, like for the here and now, I really suggest getting the reading done, the Saturn, the adding the current astrology and the Saturn return to the follow up, and then it would be like one long session. The follow up is an hour, and then we go straight from the follow up. It's all your charts fresh in my mind, and we go right into the all the current astrology stuff, but then also the Saturn return, and we also like have discussions around whatever comes up related to that, to your life, whatever is needed to talk about. So let me know. Thank you. And wow, 140. I really went overboard as I do a lot. You're not going to find many astrologers that go 1 hour 45. They'll probably be like charge me more or like pay me more. But anyways, that's it. Thank you and talk to you later. Ciao.